Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russia of nuclear terror after it bombarded a large nuclear power station, causing a fire. The authorities say the Zaporizhzhia plant, which is the biggest of its kind in Europe, is secure and radiation levels are normal. The fires didn't affect the facility's core buildings. Mark Lobel has the latest on the situation in Ukraine.
This is a moment to wake world leaders up at night. The dramatic shelling of Europe's largest nuclear power plant of its type, a few hundred kilometres from where the Chernobyl nuclear accident occurred. It may have just been a training building that was hit, but
this has never happened before. A nuclear power plant has never come under attack like this. This is tank fire. This is not a terrorist trying to get in here. This is armored vehicles shelling a nuclear power plant. I cannot overstate how serious the situation is.
The Zaporizhzhia reactors in Ukraine's southeast now centre stage as the war intensifies into its second week. President Zelensky accused Moscow of nuclear terror.
We need to stop the Russian military immediately. Scream to your politicians. Ukraine is 15 nuclear units. If there is an explosion, it is the end of everything, the end of Europe.
The US says reactors are being safely shut down, urging the Russians to stop fighting. But Russian aggression in the northern city of Chernihiv is unrelenting, shelling pounding the place, sending mothers into underground bunkers for days.
We need supplies of essential goods, and I don't know, so that they would at least evacuate children and pregnant women from here.
Russia's also closing in on the strategic coastal city of Mariupol, as its mayor says there's no power or water. The BBC asked a former Ukrainian president, now armed for the front line in the capital Kyiv, how much of a blow defeat here would mean.
First of all, please believe we don't lose Mariupol. We don't lose Kharkiv. We don't lose Kyiv. Putin, forget about that. The whole nation is beating Putin. I have my weapons with me. I have also the automatic rifle.
President Putin says his military operation is going to plan and says Ukraine is putting its citizens at risk.
They place military artillery in residential quarters of the cities. At the same time, they are acting as the ultimate bandits.
But Russia's invasion has forced more than 1 million to leave Ukraine. At Berlin's central railway station, every sign a welcoming German family offering a space in their home.
I'm more or less a child of a refugee, so I feel obliged to do something for refugees. It's not Hitler this time, but for me it somehow feels that what Putin does is what Hitler did before.
But with this Russian military convoy edging ever closer to Kyiv, fears there will be many more refugees to come. Mark Lobel, BBC News.
Well, let's now focus in more detail on the bombardment of a nuclear plant in Ukraine. James Acton is co-director of the Nuclear Policy Programme at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and told me what the worst-case scenario is.
This was a very serious situation this evening. All the statements from Ukrainian authorities in the last really 2 or 3 hours now suggest that the immediate danger to the plant has passed. The fire was not in one of the reactor buildings. It turned out to be in a training building. It's been extinguished according to Ukrainian authorities, and the plant's critical safety systems remain operational. Nonetheless, Ukraine's nuclear power plants face an extraordinary level of danger at the moment. They simply aren't designed, like any nuclear power plants, to be in the middle of a war zone. And there is a real ongoing danger here for as long as this war lasts.
Yeah, because of course, if firefighters, if those that will put out these fires aren't able to get to the scene as well, that is a real danger, isn't it? Because these reactors, they have to be kept continuously cool.
Right. Reactors are not self-contained islands. They rely on personnel and electricity and equipment, being able to get to them from the outside world. If a reactor has to be shut down, it needs an external power source to stay cool. The primary means of doing that is with electricity from the grid. If Russia attacks Ukraine's electricity grid, cutting off power from its nuclear power plants, that is a nuclear safety risk. Nuclear power plants have backup diesel generators, but if there are fires caused by attacks in a war, they could potentially damage or disable those diesel generators. And in the worst case, which I want to emphasize we did not see tonight, but in the worst case, there is a plausible accident scenario in which reactors would not be able to cool themselves, the fuel would melt down, and you could have radiation releases in a sequence similar to what occurred at Fukushima, albeit from a different trigger.
James Acton, who I spoke to earlier.